up? I'm Chetan. With me is Chris. Okay, the usual. Say hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
And who do we have with us, Chris, today?
I think it's Derek again. I
And again, Derek's a regular customer at Geek Shop.
I really
think I
am.
think I think he's an appropriate guest for today's episode too, don't you?
Yes. So, cue the music, I guess.
The copyright free music, so we don't get pulled down.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, Derek, Chris and I were talking about this a while back. What music do you listen to when you're drawing?
Oh dear. I'm at that point in my midlife now where I have my station chronically hooked up to classic alternative, 80s,
The fact that that
90s.
exists is sad.
So yeah, it, well, I keep one foot in with regular music because my wife and daughter keep me up to date, but if left to my own devices, it's the stuff I listen to, grade school, high school, a little bit of college, a lot of Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, nice.
If I'm writing an angry story, that's where I need to go.
What about you, Chris?
I mean, I tend to listen to a lot of stuff. I mean, funny hip hop music is actually something I kind of like listening to when I'm drawing. Um, and generally stuff, it depends on the what I'm drawing. And if I'm generally like for Blue Orchid, I'll actually listen to a lot of K-pop, strangely enough.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like
I can
Blackpink
actually see that.
and hmm?
I can actually see that for the Blue Orchids
Yeah, it makes
I've read.
sense.
Yeah. So a lot of Blackpink, even Psy, I will get to that, and a little J-pop too. Baby metal is really awesome if you've never heard of it.
Okay, I'm
Uh,
sorry. I'm sorry. I have to ask, what is J-pop? I barely
J-pop
know
is
what
J
I barely know what K-pop is. That's the Korean
Actually, it's funny
music.
because K-pop is named after J-pop. So J-pop is Japan, K-pop is Korea.
Okay.
So Japanese pop music was sort of the beginning of that, and then
So
K-pop sort of.
C-pop would be Canadian pop.
I'm just saying what it's called. It actually J-pop. The term J-pop came out of the 70s or 80s even.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So there was boy bands and stuff in the 70s and 80s in Japan, and they were known as J-pop. And then it sort of went later, and the sort of more modern J-pop is a lot of the stuff with like, the cute little girls and stuff like that. Um, but J-pop, like I said, if you get a chance, baby metal, if you ever get a chance, just look that up. And uh, it's it's astounding stuff. It's really good.
Okay.
And actually, I think Derek, it would suit your Nine Inch Nails sound. Strangely enough, it's a metal band.
I've
Wow.
already written it. I've already written it down on my artboard.
Yeah, baby metal is very cool. So I'll listen to stuff like that, but I listen to other stuff too, just whatever's. I have a few every once in a while. YouTube's really good at this. If you've been listening to a lot of music on YouTube, they have these playlists, like they'll have a song that maybe you listened to recently, and it'll be like the YouTube playlist of that song, sort of songs that are similar. So
Oh,
sometimes I'll just
yes,
click
yes.
that,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and then like it'll say mix, so it'll be like
Mix, yeah, or
baby
just
metal mix, and I'll then go to that, and then it'll have other stuff that maybe might be kind of cool, and I'll discover it. So I'm actually keeping up with stuff. Taylor Swift is actually kind of fun to listen to, and Katy Perry when you're doing stuff like Blue Orchid as well. I find is because it's really sort of women positive stuff, really sort
yes.
of anthem music, and so it also one of the tricks. And I don't know if I know Derek, you post a lot of stuff on various social medias and sometimes has music attached to it. And I know actually we all do. Sometimes what I'll do is what I'm listening to. Well, like one of the songs I listened to when I did that drawing will be the song that I put as the background.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So, because I often have trouble, particularly on like stuff like your video, like when I do time lapses of a lot of my drawings and put them up. And so I'll put them on like Instagram and various others. And I just always have trouble picking a song that I think is good. So then I think when I'm doing the drawing, I often take a note of a song, but this would be a good one for the background. And so that's what I do. So there's repetition, but I just find it's at least you can see where my brain was when I was doing it.
Yes.
So how about
Yeah.
you?
About the same, or I'll try to think of something that I think is appropriate to varying degrees of I try. A lot of times it is the music I listen to, but if it's some, say, character specific, say if I draw something Spider-Man, apparently one thing I'm noticing on the YouTube music now is they're starting to release more songs and soundtracks from old cartoons.
Oh,
Like there's an
Yeah.
actual
really?
entire, yeah, there's actually an entire playlist of Johnny B. Douglas, probably a name you wouldn't know offhand, but he did a lot of the music for Transformers G.I. Joe in the 80s,
Oh,
along
Yeah.
with Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and the Incredible Hulk and like those Marvel Sunbow cartoons. They've actually, iTunes actually has two whole, like just two album or three albums, sorry, dedicated to Transformers, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and the Incredible Hulk. And those tracks, actually in between, because it's an orchestra, in between we'll have little segments where trying to get the band back together to try the all like a few alternates of um, the background music compared to what they settled on for the final track of the
oh,
cartoon.
okay.
That's kind of
So
cool.
and yeah, it's pure nostalgia. I think Warner Brothers did that with like the 90s Batman the animated series years ago. Actually had three volumes of soundtracks and have all that music set aside, like all the background orchestra stuff. And I think Batman, that was Shirley Walker, coached by Danny Elfman. So that's like a lot of high
Yeah.
caliber music
Oh,
for
nice.
a
Yeah.
cartoon. Um, I haven't seen uh, not a lot today. I think the closest today is X-Men '97 actually put together music music playlist that you can listen to that has all the background music.
Oh,
Still
that
waiting on the old
never
stuff,
thought
but
about that. That would be
Yeah.
interesting to listen to.
yeah, if I'm
Yeah.
drawing like an Incredible Hulk, especially something like near and dear to me, like '80s Hulk, which was my first foray into that character, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which was my first exposure to that character before I found the comics. Like that's just and obviously Transformers, but just
Yeah.
like if I'm drawing one of those characters and I can find one of those songs, like I'll put that in.
Yeah.
Um, Although one thing is never play the music if you're live streaming. I got shut down pretty hard just having an Apple Music station.
Oh, because of copyrights. You're right.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
During the pandemic, Meta had a huge issue with me because in Korea because Alanis Morissette happened to come on. I'm like, what did Alanis Morissette do to Korea? But yeah,
What I,
trying to listen to your music live while drawing sometimes will.
Yeah, I remember I had that issue also with certain things where they mentioned that where they said Facebook said you can't record at this time and you can't this music can't be played at in this region or something like that. I can't remember the exact messaging.
Oh, there's sometimes if it's one region, it's like sometimes five, 10, like a lot of uh, a lot of regions, and I haven't pointed out or been able to single out which ones shut you down a little
Yeah,
faster than others because I can get through. Like there were times I could get through an entire session and not get muted at all, but
that's
there'd be a
interesting.
day where
I
the same.
remember that occurring to me on a couple of posts and stuff like that. But okay, no, that's a
yeah.
yeah.
When I do live streaming on YouTube. I've started to do it now. I'm actually trying to live stream inking every page of Blue Orchid. the next issue. So I do it for North America, it'd be in the middle of the night, but for me, it's during the day. But I've been live streaming it because I like the YouTube live stream, and this is a completely other subject because I can download it and then make a time lapse of it, which is what I like to do as well. But one of the things I found was I don't play any music at all. And for two reasons. One is copyright infringement. The other thing is sometimes I have people chatting with me, and then I kind of have to like mute the music, and they leave comments, and I want to respond. And so then it's like, with music playing, it's kind of like this double sound. So it's just not. So I started inking in silence, which is a really weird thing. And it's also weird, and we could get into this later, just talking in streams to keep people engaged is a weird thing and so if you have music going, it's just not, it's like two sounds. So it's just, to me, I don't tend to do it.
Sometimes I find it's and this is even my wife and I were talking about this, even driving in the car. But when I'm drawing also, sometimes it's good to have silence when you're drawing. I mean, the music does influence you, but sometimes that silence works because it gets you concentrated thinking. Because what I used to do years ago was I have a drawing tablet on this side, and I have my monitor here. And sometimes I'll play a movie on my monitor as I'm drawing. And as you're drawing, sometimes you're going this and you're watching more of the movie and drawing, So then I stopped doing that. Even TV shows. I used to have TV shows on as I was drawing on my computer screen, and it just got too distracting.
Yeah.
Sorry, talking about TV shows, and I do that every once in a while. When the Morbius movie came out, wife and I actually saw it. I'm not going to review it, but later that night did a Morbius drawing, and because it didn't have the movie on hand and copyright and all that, because it was still fresh in theaters, I decided to run 90s Spider-Man, which had a couple of Morbius themed episodes. So I specifically had those on in the background as I was drawing for that live stream. TV shows, they don't really come after you for. Like I've never been silenced for a TV show.
No. I don't mean coming after you. I just mean as a what do you call it? Distraction, or helping you motivate into drawing. And a lot of times when I do play movies, it's movies I've seen before, so it's not new movies where I have to concentrate on watching the movie. It's like I'll put a movie like say Avengers Infinity War or something like that. I'll put something like that on where I've seen it a couple of times, so I know the plot, I know what's happening. But it's something it's kind of like you would say as a distraction, but it's not really a distraction. But it helps you, actually, it was a distraction for a while because even though I've seen that movie dozens of times, you're still going over like this, watching it.
Yeah. I tend to, particularly when I'm doing initial pencils, like when I'm putting down my first things, when I'm deciding what my boxes are going to be, my basic story, I do that in silence almost all the time.
Yeah.
I'm okay with noise during inking, like a podcast or music or something like that. I can do that if I'm inking, but if I'm generally, and sort of when I don't really tighten up my pencils that much. So it's, penciling, I tend not to have as much going on. Inking, I can have more going on, except now because I'm focusing on the streaming. So I don't tend to have the music, but I kind of wish I did. Maybe if I had enough things with me, like I guess maybe I could bring like another device and then just have something in my headphones and everything like that and listening to it. But it's just, by the time I set all that up, it's too much work. So I'm just like, I can sit here quietly. It's okay. But my other question, so we all work with music and everything. How has music, does it ever get into your comic books? I mean, I know TikTok Tom, if I see another Cam FDM shirt, it's, I think.
Oh, that was just a running joke for a long time. For me, no, music, no, now just to go backwards a little bit, I've been recently not been listening to a lot of music as I'm drawing. If I do listen to music, I'm listening to more, I hate to say it, 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s music. And I've been listening to even old, because I mean, my family grew up listening to Hindi music. I've been listening to Hindi instrumental music as I'm drawing. But recently, what I've been listening to more and more is I've listened to almost a complete George Carlin CD collection. Bob Newhart, and all those. Comedy is amazing to have when you're drawing. It's
Yeah.
like, it's comedy, and I've been watching even like, YouTube videos like science videos and stuff, have that playing in the background as I'm drawing.
Yeah.
It's like because it gets your mind thinking. It's not like you're humming along to a song or something. It gets, you're listening as you're drawing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll do that. I'll even do books on tape sometimes.
Yeah. Now,
Oh,
as
books
for
on
the
tape is nice.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Now, as for influencing in your art and stuff, personally, I would say no. I would say
I
if
don't know.
I'm working on a if I'm working on a page where there's a lot of fight scenes and stuff like that, most of the time I'm listening to probably some '80s music. You know,
I'm going to disagree with you though. I think TikTok Tom has a very 90s, 80s, 90s
oh,
sort
it
of
does, it
rock and
does.
roll appeal. Like
No, no,
maybe
no,
you
no,
don't listen to it now, but I feel like the early
no,
design of
no, no.
TikTok
I
Tom.
listen. I still listen to that type of stuff, music all the time. But I don't. When I'm drawing, it doesn't influence my art as I'm drawing. The music's going to influence me anyways, even if I'm not listening to it.
I
So
just feel
yes,
like TikTok Tom was originally designed in a very sort of
oh,
rock and
TikTok Tom
roll.
was rock and roll, punk, industrial, all that stuff. Yes,
Yeah,
very heavily influenced by that, and still
yeah,
is. No,
yeah.
no, I mean the influences are there, but I think what I'm trying to say is if I'm drawing a page, I'm not listening to let's say if I'm drawing TikTok Tom blowing things up, I'm not going to be listening to aggressive music that's going to be similar to that. I'll probably be listening to most likely the opposite version of that music.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the influence is there. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Music has influenced my comic since day one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's never going to change. It's going to, as I get older, I mean, my music selection gets smaller and smaller, but I'm still listening to that same thing I've listened to before.
Yeah. I feel like Molitor has some rock and roll influence in it too.
Yeah, there's probably definitely some 70s and 80s hair metal bands in his playlist. But I want to say he'd probably veer off side and probably listen to classic opera, and his friends don't know about it.
Oh, that would be, yes, that would be interesting. Now, one thing you did mention that brings up a point because talking to a lot of creative people, I hear, people listening to everything from what you just said, J-pop to K-pop to industrial, punk, jazz, comedy. You never hear
Kanye.
country. Kanye, yes, Kanye West. That was a big reveal there. But you never hear country music.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who listens. I mean,
No,
I
same
have
here.
nothing against it, but I
No,
don't
no,
know
no,
any
nothing
common
against it.
creators.
No, old country music is great to listen to. I mean, the
Yeah.
old. I mean, it's it. Every music has its
Yeah.
good and bad.
I,
So,
I
I
actually
mean,
have some Dolly Parton in my playlist.
yeah, but you never hear anyone mention country music. I mean, come on, when we talked to Brendan McCarthy, oh, we were mind blown when he mentioned Kanye West. It was just like, and his explanation made sense, but it was
Yep.
just like, it's just, I was thinking something like, Brendan McCarthy saying he listens to the Beatles or David Bowie or Ramones or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
Kanye would not even be on the top 500 list.
I guess the other question is the one thing that Brendan mentioned is that he actually uses like the tones of the music. So like it goes up, it goes slow. He actually breaks
Yes.
down the music and then sometimes will work it into a story. Did either of you ever like take a song and go, if this was to be a movie, I could like play this as the soundtrack and the rhythms would match? Or is it just sort of like you have it in the background and maybe
No,
subconsciously goes
actually,
in a little bit?
if you look at my post that I put on Instagram and Facebook, when I put music to it, that music relates to the imagery that's happening.
So that would be the soundtrack if you did animated.
Yes, that's it. Yes, it's not just random music. I just go, hey, that's cool music for this image. For this, I actually sit down and I sometimes I spend going like this on my phone trying to pick that song and find the perfect line to put with that imagery. So
Yeah.
yes, I do concentrate on that. But the pages when I'm drawing it, subconsciously, I would say yes, it does affect it. But yeah. What about you guys?
It's I don't think I've consciously like thought I have a song in my head while I'm drawing a page or drawing a piece and thinking that as a soundtrack. Um, like there's some kind of level of listening to music, getting in a kind of vibe and drawing, but I don't think I've consciously like, oh, this song would go great for this scene yet anyway. Probably going forward, it'll be something I give more thought to.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to have, in fight scenes, I might have a soundtrack and might have a rhythm, but in sort of like other times I don't really. So like, Blue Orchid has a lot of like, monsters smashing stuff. So occasionally I'll have a rhythm for it, and I'll be thinking about a rhythm. But sometimes it's not even a real song. Sometimes it's just a rhythm. Like sometimes I'll just have like a bump, 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 bumps, or something like that going in the back of my mind when I'm working it out. But a lot of that comes from, I think, the fact that I did animation too, and so we would
So
often start with music. That's the
I was
first thing
about
you
to
have.
bring that up. I was about to bring that up, and they're coming out with a new album. I just saw a posting of it where comics and music mix is Gorillas
Yeah,
and animation, because that's just where the music and the animation works so well together.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's designed. They're literally designed. I mean, it's two guys, a musician and a cartoonist that got together and were
Yeah,
like, let's
that's
make
it.
something.
Yep, and that's the
So
perfect example of two things work in perfect harmony.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. I would also in that tail end of the 90s, I was still big into McFarlane, and when the studio that was putting together the Spawn cartoon was putting together a couple music videos. I think there was a Pearl Jam video and a Korn video.
yeah.
And I remember my little brother was very big into Korn at that point, so just on his own, he got the one album cover that was drawn by Capullo and McFarlane.
Oh, I
I
remember
thought that
that.
was
Yes, yes. Where the kids are
um,
jumping off the edge or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was just a two couple blips in that like area, but I think you're right. Gorillas, that's the whole thing, like animation and the songs, and they actually kind of work
Yeah.
more together on a more consistent basis.
Well, the musicians even themselves are fictional.
Yeah,
Yes, that
So,
yes. They're
like
comic
that,
characters. They're
like it,
animation comic book characters.
yeah. I mean, you could also look at like Pink Floyd The Wall and say that that's another example of that. But at least, I mean, there was fictionalized. Like obviously, if you've ever seen all, it's sort of like it's not the band at all, but it's very sort of, it's reminiscent. Whereas Gorillaz specifically was like, it's basically one person doing everything for the most part, and then represented by, with guests, and then represented by like three or four of them is basically, it's it's basically one guy making music with some friends and another guy making a band up
I remember
visually.
when I was a teenager, a buddy of mine was into heavy metal and stuff like that. And anyone who's listening here might be able to pinpoint who the band was. And I remember him listening to music, and one of the song was "I Am the Law." And I remember listening to it, and then I look on the cover, it has Judge Dredd on the cover. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, okay. And all the songs are basically, if I remember, this is going back 25 plus 30 years ago. And remember, all the songs were like comic related songs, and a
Mm,
lot of things to do with Judge Dredd. And I'm thinking, wow, this is the first time
yeah.
seeing that. And then I remember, trying to remember that guy's name. I remember seeing a cover with Silver Surfer on the cover. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
oh,
you remember that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, that's a comic character. You know, that's first time, seeing something that, you geeked out on, then you see it in mainstream media.
Yeah.
I mean, comics wasn't, and I'm not saying it's mainstream, but in real public, on an album cover.
Yeah. Although Art Crumb did a lot of drawings for in the 60s. for
Oh,
bands.
he
He did
did.
the Keep on Truckin' album, um, and a few other. He did like he was known for doing album
Oh,
covers
even
for a while.
Frazetta did covers for a lot of Molly Hatchet, if I remember, was the band that he did covers for.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you could actually go the other way. And I actually have the CD somewhere, which I don't even have a CD player right now, but I have the CD. There was a collection of famous cartoon soundtracks that were redone by bands, and the most famous one
Yeah,
being
that's it. Yeah.
the Ramones did
The
Spider-Man.
Ramones. Yeah, Spider-Man. Yeah.
That I
So
remember.
Now
so
I'll post a link here. There's a British band called Pulp, a song called Common People. Jamie
yeah,
Hewlett supposedly did a comic version of that. And I remember
interesting.
watching the video. There's a YouTube video where it shows all the panels, and I think it was a given away with a CD or something. And it's
That's interesting.
his interpretation of that song.
Nice.
I could see
And
that.
I'm not joking. I was looking for it for a while on eBay and stuff to see if I could get it. Haven't been able to find a copy of it. I mean, it's on YouTube, it's on internet and stuff like that. But I'll post a link or images up here.
Cool. Thanks.
It's very interesting. It's interesting how like I would say, I mean, we talked about how comic books have influenced people. Music is a big part. And I think as much as I think comic books have influenced music as much as music has influenced comic
That's
books.
yes.
I think that's the takeaway we can take from this for sure, is that, we are both influenced, but on the other hand, there are many musicians who are like, oh, I read comic books. That's my inspiration. So,
And
you know,
yes, I think both have influenced each other so much. And anyone who's watching this video, let us know what music has influenced you.
or if you're a musician with comic books.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
even better. Yes. And we do have some musician friends who follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So please comment.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Just we should probably wrap this episode up, but I have one more suggestion. Is there's a punk? It's a heavy metal band. I don't think they're around anymore. They might have recently split up, but they're basically all dressed like Ned Flanders, and all
Oh,
their
I've seen
songs are
that.
about Ned
Yes.
Flanders. They do a
Yes,
song
I've
called White
seen
Wine Spritzer, which is
it.
just amazing. You know, it's I can't remember what they're called. But if you look up Ned Flanders, metal, you'll find them
I've
for
seen
sure.
that. And you have to say one thing, and this is an old band. Devo definitely is influenced by comics.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
100%. And they almost go to the point of where gorillas did, where like they sort of aren't really themselves. They're sort of
Yeah,
almost like a cartoony version of themselves.
version of them. Yes, yes.
So it's not entirely untrue. So okay, we'll end this episode. Each one of us has to name one album that you think that people should listen to.
You go
Oh
first.
dear.
We're all sitting here silently.
Oh, there's a
Oh,
lot of albums that I really, it's
I mean, I'll go first. A good one for me with comic books is any soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah. This is going to be the blandest answer ever, but usually my go-to is Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral. I know
It's a great album.
I listen to, honestly, the one I listen to a lot is Suede's Coming Up.
Hmm.
I listen to that when I'm drawing a lot. And I've listened to that and their first album. I listen to that a lot when I'm drawing. It's
There we
mellow
go.
music that works.
There
I
we
think
go.
this is a great way to end the episode because it has me thinking of more albums now. Well,
Maybe we'll start a playlist.
Yes, we will. We will. Okay. Thank you for watching.